I went over a couple of these. Earlier with like a couple of you, but not all of you. Obviously not with our substitute. So if you just give me 1 second. All right. We're gonna go in. So we're probably just gonna do strats, I guess.
Before we start, you want to go over like how the game is gonna work? So I know there's like a band stage.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I can tell you how it was last time.
I wasn't really involved last time, so
Yeah, if it's the same as it was last year or last year, it's like the teams just take turns banning maps until there's one map left.
And then how many maps do we play?
or one of each type, and then if it goes to a fifth, we play Nepal.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I read something about a pause too, in case we have a disconnect or lag spike or something. We can call a pause in between rounds for like 3 minutes or something.
My internet goes down every day at midnight for like 30 seconds, so definitely pause then.
Okay, so comps you're gonna see, dive is pretty much what you're gonna see all the time on offense. That's Winston, Dua, Lucio, or Lucio, Moira, Mercy, Zenyatta, and then probably a Tracer, probably a Genji. Sometimes you're gonna see a Widowmaker, and she's gonna be standing right up on the high ground. So one way you'll see people is sometimes you'll see people run through here into here. Now this isn't always very good, except for if you have a Zarya, because on defense a lot of the time they'll have a Junkrat, and if Junkrat can just spam in here, you're all gonna die. So left side, it's not recommended unless you run like Reinhardt Zarya and you just want to blow your way on the point. This way, you can go through this little area, and you can do 3 things. You can dive right up onto this high ground, right here, if you want to. You can jump straight through here, onto point. Or you could come all the way up here, and go this way, and then dive onto point from here. Or you could come up these stairs and just come right through here and go on the point. Now, if somebody's standing up on that ledge where Tracer and where all you guys are standing right now, people are standing up there and they do the mace strat, then what you're probably just going to want to do is come right through the right side, go right under the bridge, and then dive right up there and pressure them. But you need to watch out for Mei, because they might still keep her after they boost the Orisa up. Now, probably right side's probably the second best way. Now, the main way is if people are holding the standard defense right on this ledge near the pillars. You're probably just going to want to call out when you're going to dive and just jump right on top of them and take the fight right here. Because if you get a good pick, you can, sometimes a healer will be standing right here, and you can dive right on top of them and isolate them from their team. And that's why it's good to have a Widowmaker to apply pressure.
I have a question about picks.
Yes.
Are there different grades of picks, like where or any pick is a good pick?
Any pick is a good pick, but if you get like a healer, especially if they're running a Mercy, if you kill their Mercy, then you should basically win the fight.
Okay.
like if you don't win the fight, then there's something like something seriously wrong must have happened. Like
Okay.
they pulled out a Dragon Blade or something and just wiped your entire team. So
Okay.
you come down and you cap this, and then you run over. So even though, you know, aesthetically it looks different, first point is really similar to second point because of the different ways you can go. So a lot like first point, left side is probably the worst way you can go because it's so tight and close quarters that if they run a Junkrat, they can just spam you. Or you can get flanked from here, sometimes by like a Reaper or something. Now, if you come up here, then this would be where you would run Winston Zarya and a Reaper if you run a Reaper to swap, because he's pretty good here. And then you just push your way onto the point. Now, we go over to the right side. Now, right side is actually a good place. It's probably the second best place you can go. Actually, I would even be willing to argue that's the best place you can go. But you come right side, and then you just dive right on over the top, right onto their supports, who are usually standing here. Because, now the reason your supports are probably going to be standing here is because they have good sight lines onto the point, and the walk back to spawn is much closer just in case they get dove on, especially if it's a Zenyatta. And that's why it's probably worse if you stand over here as your support, because it's a lot more closed off. You can't really run back to spawn, it's a little bit harder. And another thing is you could get flanked from behind really easily, unlike over here, because it's a corridor, I guess, on the right side, and this is just kind of wide open space. So then the main, right down the middle, it's kind of like the first point, where if you go right down the middle, you just jump right on top of the team, enemy team, because they're probably just gonna have an Orisa right here. Her shield's gonna be right here. You dive on top of her, focus her down, and then you have the 5v6. So you're probably just gonna want to keep the same comp that you had on first point when you're attacking second. But some swaps you can make, or would be a Junkrat. He's pretty good here on both sides. A Widowmaker can just stand up here, or if you want to go and just fight and brawl right on point, you can swap onto a Reaper and you can fight. So do you guys have any questions about offense before we go on to defense?
Yeah, what do you think about these higher ledges like I'm standing on right now? Is it good to dive off of, or are they just for all charging? Bad idea to sit up here.
Like if you dive onto one of the ledges, would that be okay?
Yeah. Basically use it as a, you know, a leverage point to get onto the point.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fine, but you'd probably just be better off jumping right on top, like right here, just because the supports are going to be standing there, and you can get the splash damage from Winston right off the bat and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, if you end up misjudging or something, and you land right here, it would still be okay, because you can still jump right on top of him. But because Winston has a splash damage from his jump, you'd probably just be better off dabbing right on top of them right here. So that's a good question. Anybody have anything else?
Tracer just follows the team, right? So where you just said going up the right, that's the prime way to go.
It's probably... Yeah, I mean, it's kind of... In my eyes, I view it as, like, tied for the best spot to push, besides the middle. But you're probably safer off just going middle, but if you end up going this way, then yeah, Tracer...
I only ask because I've read or I've seen that Tracer is usually, like, someone who flanks, pretty much.
She is good at flanking, but if you're gonna... like, you will see where the Tracer will flank and call out somebody, like call out the supports if they're staying back there, and then have a tank to finish off the chip damage. You can do that if you want to, but it's not always the safest, especially if they're running
Okay.
over then, because he can two-shot you with Discord. So if
Exactly.
you end up coming over to this right side, then what you can do as Tracer is you can jump on top of this box if it's still there, or jump up on here if the box isn't there, then up here, and then you can
Whoa.
just dive over with the team.
Hold on,
And-
I gotta find you. Oh, there you are.
What? Oh, you need-
I was just so like pretty much here.
yeah. So there's this ledge right here.
Oh yeah.
You jump
Okay.
up, and then you jump up here. That's probably how you would get set if you guys want to dive that back
Okay.
right side. And then
Gotcha.
yeah, you just follow the tanks in,
Okay.
focus fire whoever they're on, and
Thank you.
Which we could end up doing, like, even if we decide to go mid, might be like somewhere in
okay.
Tracer, hit right side and hit the healers at the same time they're coming up mid, maybe.
yeah, you guys could do that too. It has a lot of. This point has a lot of variance, but it is a bit difficult to push through. You have to be really coordinated. So if you end up not pushing as a group and you have the flankers, you have to make sure that you're calling out who you're flanking,
Mhm.
and so that there's tank follow-up. Like
Okay.
that has to be a priority. So any more questions about any of the first two attacking points before we move on to defense?
No. Templar just said that if we can manage it, we should practice a dive. I think that could be cool. I mean, we don't have any opponents.
But in quick play, maybe.
You can go ahead. I can stand back there as like Zenyatta or something if you want. We can do that after. So now we're gonna go on to first point defense. Comps you're gonna see. Orisa is gonna be your best anchor tank. Diva or Roadhog, it's kind of interchangeable. Both of them have good synergy with Orisa, and also Diva's really good. She's overpowered. Healers, Orisa Zen or Orisa Lucio is fine.
Mercy?
Or Mercy, yeah.
Marissa? Moira, I mean?
Yeah, you can run Mercy or Orisa. I mean, Mercy or Moira, yeah, as healers if you want. And then probably Zen or Lucio. For DPS, Junkrat is good here. Widowmaker, so she can sit up on that high ground perch. I mean, it's really up to you guys. Soldier's also pretty good. Sombra is also good because she can hack the health packs and stuff. So this is where you're probably going to be standing. Shield, like right there, like right on the corner, so that it covers this spot from if they have a Widowmaker, and it also kind of wraps around over here.
And talk.
Alright. Yeah. Also, if you want, you can put like a Tracer up on that high ground where you guys are standing if they have a Widowmaker. And then you can have, if we're running a Diva, Tracer can call, okay, I'm going to dive on the Widow. And then Diva flies up, and you guys can get the quick pick onto the Widowmaker if she's up there and she's giving you guys problems. So, recently, as you guys have probably seen, people are starting to run the Mei strat, where they boost the Orisa and any other not very mobile heroes right up here, and they hold up here. This is also good, but you have to make sure that once the other team fights on point, you drop down. But I wouldn't say drop down directly on point, because if you just drop down directly on point, they can just focus you down easily. If you're going to drop down, you probably want to have your Orisa barrier like right here. If you're going to drop down, drop into this little corner, drop your Orisa barrier, and then slowly move up onto the point and then fight as a group.
Okay.
What do you think is the best way to deal with that when they're sitting in the corner and they got a good barrier up and they're just holding it in case?
If they're just like, if they end up dropping down into this corner, if we're on offense, or if we're on defense.
Yeah, if we're on offense against.
If we're on
somebody good
offense
yeah.
and they end up dropping down here, then I don't know. I mean, it's up to you. You could probably play it a bit passive, but Orissa's probably going to be spamming. So if they're not running something like a Reaper, that would be like pretty harmful to the tanks. Then yeah, you can probably just call out a dive and you can just fight it right here. But you have to be sure that you don't get chunked down quickly because it's such a small corridor, and Junkrat is good. That's a lot of damage just going to be in the really tight space.
I feel like it might also work, and Coach can clarify if it would. If we bunched up real hard, like especially if we were running Moira, if we bunched up real hard just against this corner on the point, like that would really limit
Like
their
hid?
sidelines. Well, yeah, almost like we're still on the point, but we're just limiting their sidelines. So if they're in the corner, for them to get fire on us, they'll have to step out to about here. And then the Moira can just do spray healing, and like we could have a lot of sustain there.
Like if there's a barrier right here, I mean you could do that as well. You could fight right here, but the only problem with that is now you're just giving up the high ground for free, and they can come right up here and they have the high ground advantage.
Well, I mean
This is
specifically
right
when I'm talking about when we're on attack and they're hiding behind the shield in this corner.
Oh, then yeah, I mean if they're just gonna do that, then yeah, you can just stand right here and kind of jiggle peek it and keep getting percentage until they push out, and then jump on them. You could do that if you wanted, yeah, that would work. I mean honestly, most teams, like a lot of more like higher level teams, they can afford to jump right down onto the point if they run the mace strat, just because they're a lot more coordinated than you guys, and that's not a rip on you guys, but it's just a matter of the fact that they're higher ranked and stuff. So they can afford to drop right on top of the point because they might use their support ults or something to drop down if they have it, like if they have Valkyrie. I guess I would say that's probably one of the only times where you guys would want to just drop right on top of the point if you're standing up there, is if you have like sound barrier or Valkyrie, because then you have the sustain to actually fight down here without getting focused down too quickly. That would be okay too. Okay, so pretend we just lost this point. Running back. Okay, so probably the same comp you ran on offense. Maybe a Reaper. So Orisa shield right here. And then you just make sure the Orisa moves her barrier depending on where they push. Now sports, you're probably going to stand back here. If you're running like, at least your Zenyatta, if we're running one, we're going to put him back here. But if we don't have a Zen and we're running like Mercy or Moira or Lucio, then yeah, you can just stand right here. If they have a Widowmaker, you can send somebody out at them, but you have to be careful because if they realize that somebody is out and trying to pressure the Widow without the rest of their team, then they can try and quickly push on the point while you guys are preoccupied. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This point's pretty simple to defend. It just has a lot to do with barrier placement of the Orisa, and also stalling it out if it's in overtime or something, or it's getting close. So yeah, do you guys have any questions about any of the defensive points? Yes.
I have. How do you feel about taking fights like right here at the choke? Like, because this is a really awesome platform to EMP off of. Because I can put my E down and do that, and then come back. And so this is a really great spot.
If it's a set play, then yes. If you call it out and you say, all right, I'm gonna EMP them as they walk in, then yes, you can do that. But I mean, they're probably. I mean, yeah. If you're gonna call out the EMP, maybe don't do it directly under here, like directly under that platform. maybe do it like right here, because if we're running or like right here on this bridge, because if we're running an Orisa and we don't have a Lucio, they might be able to speed boost out before we can get anything off of the EMP. So yeah, you can stand up there and we can do a set play where we call an EMP and then we take this fight. But instead of doing it right here,
Do it a little further forward.
wait until they're a little bit further forward, like right where the bridge starts, like right here at this pillar. Like once they're here, then you can EMP, and it's a much easier fight to take for your tanks.
Okay. I actually have another question about that side that you're on. Like, I don't know. Oh, right over. Yeah, over on that side of them. I don't know if they're pushing up this direction. When is like the optimal EMP?
If they're pushing up this direction, like, and if they're looking for a dive over here,
Right.
an optimal time to use the EMP is when they're on your supports.
Okay. So just
Or
wait
like-
till they get like all the way up.
Yeah. Because again, it's kind of like the situation you just brought up, where you could EMP right here, but only if you have the mobile tanks. It's kind of like this, where you could EMP here, but that's such a long run for if you're running an Orisa that, I mean, it could be hard for you to get any value out of the EMP.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any
And
more
if they're coming on the other side, just EMP pull when they get to.
Ah,
point, I guess.
yeah. I mean, if they're coming this way, then Orisa's probably going to turn her barrier. It's about the same distance from, like, an EMP. Like, if they're standing right here, it's about the
Okay.
same distance if the barrier's here. As if, like, the barrier's here, and they got EMP'd here, then yeah, it would be okay if you EMP'd them, like, right here, because the run is just a lot shorter.
Right.
Probably the shield's going to be, like, here, right here. And then you can just walk right in and kill them all.
Should I maybe not do it like comp dependent? Like if they have like a Reaper or a Junkrat or something, maybe we shouldn't do it in here, because what I found sometimes is I'll pop the EMP in here and I'll hit all 6 of them, but I have a hard time coaxing my team into pushing through this choke to actually follow up on it.
If you're gonna do this here, then one thing you could, and like if your team is worried about pushing in here, if they have a Reaper or a Junk, I guess what I would say is probably if you have a support ult, then use it. Like if you have Sound Barrier or Transcendence and you want to push this, and you EMP the right side, but your team isn't following up, then a Valkyrie or a Sound Barrier or a Transcendence could work to finally get you on the point. But I mean, if your team is, if it's a set play with a team, then I mean, the rest of the team is gonna have to go in, because otherwise it's just a waste of an EMP. You shouldn't. It probably shouldn't be that much of a worry point if you're in a set team.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe you probably might have seen that in like solo queue though, and if that happens, then yeah, that's just gonna be unlucky. You can't really expect too much out of solo queue games in terms of communication. Okay, so do you have any more questions before we move on to, I believe, Volskaya Industries?
I've got a question.
Yeah. Yep, you can go ahead. Did you say you had a question, or?
Oh, I'm sorry. I messed up my mic. Alright, so from the choke onward, where you said the shield would be?
Yeah.
How far is too far if I see a teammate who's in trouble, or, like a support that is really low I can pick without
Probably,
going too far?
if they're all the way out here, it's not worth it at all.
Okay. So usually
But
right
like,
here is about where I feel safe.
about right, if it's a support, then you can fly out to here, because you can afford to take the damage, because hopefully the support will heal you so that you can back up. I guess for any like other teammate, then yeah, probably about right here is where you would want to fly out. If they're anything further, then, especially if it's like a DPS and they get like roadhog hooked or something, I mean, they're probably just going to get focus fired immediately, and it's probably not worth it to fly out there and get yourself in positioning trouble.
Right.
Okay, a good question though.
All right.
So do we have any more before we move on to Volskaya?
On the flip side, going back to offense on this point here, would
Mhm.
this be a good spot we want to practice some kind of like, I mean, any spot would be good, but some kind of Zarya Diva combo or Reinhardt combo?
Yeah, I mean, you can really do, if you're running a Rein and you want to push right up here and they have an Orisa, just jump around the Orisa barrier. They're running if you're running a Zarya, now Zarya Diva probably isn't that great unless you have a third tank because there's no barrier. But if you're running a Zarya and you're looking for a combo with Diva Bomb, then first thing you have to do is make sure that there's no Diva so that it doesn't get eaten, the grab, and then probably second thing you want to do is as soon as the grab goes down and they throw out a shield, break it. So we can have somebody throw down a grab right here, and as they throw out the grab, that's when you throw out your Diva Bomb. But after you throw out the Diva Bomb, you have to make sure that if there are any shields or barriers in front of the grab, like on top of the Diva Bomb, that you kill it. Otherwise, there's no value.
Alright, cool. So grab first, Diva goes in second.
Yes, grab first, then as soon as the grab goes out and you see that people are in it, that's when you throw it out.
Alright.
But if also, this is for everybody, if we end up doing the Zarya Diva combo, it's okay to set up something like that because it's such a good combination, but you also have to make sure that you're not just sending in the Diva Bomb. You have to make sure that everybody is also focus firing into the grab just to get that damage, because you never know. Sometimes the barrier might not go down right away or something, and then you have to just go with follow-up damage. Alright, do you have anything else before we move on?
Do you guys want to do the practice dive or no?
I can go change to Zen if you guys want to do a practice. Is that what you guys want to do quickly?
Yeah, it works for me.
Alright, I'm gonna go on to Zen. So, you guys can tell me when you're gonna push in. I don't really care where you push, just tell me when. So I'm sitting here, firing on point, firing out Harmony. Okay, so I'll turn my mic off, you guys can work on the comms, and then positioning and stuff.
Okay, Zen's in this back corner alone.
Alrighty.
Tell me, just
Wait.
call him when you're ready for the dive.
He's
I'll
in
do it
second
to you.
point.
Yeah, second point, right?
Yeah.
My bad. Alright, he's gonna be in that back right corner. I'm going up.
Yeah, call it when you're ready. I'll do it to you guys.
I'm going up. Jumping down.
So yeah, something like that. That's,
You went a little
Oh.
early without the Winston though.
Alrighty.
yeah. That's one thing you have to make sure that... But
So who
it's
goes
okay.
first?
Winston.
The Winston goes first?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Winston always first.
Alright, so Winston should be calling the lead on the dives.
Yes, Winston. You can have somebody else call the dive, but Winston has to take control of the dive and initiate it.
Alrighty.
You can maybe have like a flanker do the initial damage, but then the flanker has to call it out, and then the Winston goes in with the Diva defense matrixing him the entire way to negate any damage. You take out the dive target, and then you just take the fight right here.
Alright.
Alright. So is there anything else you guys want me to go over before we move on?
Good to go.
Alright, Cool. We're going to go to Volskaya, so it's a little bit more different.
Traveling to Volskaya Industries.
Okay. So first point, offense. So some comps you're gonna see, standard dive, obviously. Triple or quad tank is good. Zarya Reinhardt is good, especially because Junkrat is good here. I think teams can just set up and spam down. But anyways, if you're going to run triple tank or any type of beefy lineup, then that's the time when you just walk right past. So usually teams are going to be setting up there. That's just for reference. So if teams are standing up or sitting up right there, then you just ignore it and you just walk right past and you take the fight on the point because you have the HP advantage. If you're running something like a soldier or a widowmaker, then you would probably want to push through this side and then into this area. Then you take out anybody who's up here, come onto the high ground, get your soldier established, and then jump onto the point and take the fight here once you have your soldier established on the high ground. Another thing you can do is you can come on this right side, probably with a similar comp if you want to the left side one, which would be with a soldier. So you come through this side, and over here, you take advantage of you take control of the health pack, and then while you have the health pack room, the soldier's up here, and you guys just push out on the point with the soldier over here. So it's similar to what you do over here. You get the soldier established over there, and then you kind of do similar thing to over here. Now, I went over this with Firefly when we were doing it earlier, but if we're going to be running a Sombra, Sombra's probably best plan of attack is she's going to come over the top and then hack this health pack. And then once she hacks this health pack, she's going to wait for it to come on off of cooldown. She's going to hack this one right here, and then she's going to stand on point. Now, when she stands on point, she's going to be drawing the people away from, she's going to be hopefully drawing the attackers back away from the choke point and get them at least a little bit wary. So, if they end up to decide and move away from that spot and like right here, because of the Sombra, then once we have the 2 health packs hacked, you're going to hear a call from Firefly. He's going to say, I'm going in now. And once he says now, and he says, alright, I'm on the supports, or something, then that's when you guys dive in all together as one group. So a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing on this map is pretty much going to be decided by if Firefly can get those 2 health packs hacked, which he probably can, and if he can communicate it well, and then if you guys can execute that well. Okay?
So if he goes that way, should we go on the right side so that we stay where the health packs are?
Which way? The right side?
So we do, like the second high ground that you were mentioning from here?
Yes. Yes, that's probably what you're going to want to do. Yeah, I guess if...
And I don't know if it's necessary, but I almost want to go over my whole route from spawn so that everybody has a feel for exactly how long it's
not
gonna
exactly
take me.
from spawn, but just...
Well,
from-
basically, okay, I throw my E up on this roof from spawn, and so then I have to wait the 5 seconds for my translocator to come off cooldown, then I throw it straight over, invis, and translocate in here. And here I can start giving you guys information callouts about their comp. Then I run in here, I hack this. And after I hack that, I have 8 seconds before I can hack the next pack. And so I come up here, and I'll throw my translocator back there somewhere. Then I step back, and I jump on the point and hack that, and then I go into this. And this is when defenders start coming back. And so it takes a little while. It's probably like 30 seconds, before I'm actually set. And we don't. And it's very important that nobody dies in that first 30 seconds. So we don't want to like overcommit to the choke, but maybe do some like poke damage, work on your ults a little.
Yeah. So kind of what Firefly said. If we're gonna do this, which we probably will, if we end up getting Volskaya, it's super, 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 super important that if you're sitting here, you can do poke damage, but you can't get picked off, especially if they're running a Roadhog, because that just delays us for even longer. So watch out for that. Okay. So that's pretty much all the offensive attacks. A lot of it has, like, a lot of it probably has to do with this high ground takeover, or going through that side. I'll just say this, if we end up doing the Sombra, then it's probably just best to just go right through right side. But if we don't end up doing the Sombra strat, then it's probably best that we go to the left side, so that we can have Soldier on that high ground, or some sort of hit scan hero. Okay, so we drop down, we win the fight, and then we're gonna run over to second point. Now second point, you probably kinda, if you're running a triple tank, then you just kinda do the same thing you did first point, and you just walk on point and you fight. If you're, one thing you can do is you can just walk right through here and take control of this health pack room, which will probably happen if we have a Sombra. That health pack's going to be hacked. Another thing you can do is you can come all the way around the back and then jump on the top of them off of that bridge back there. You can jump out here and dive right on top of them. You can jump up here and then dive on their supports, because they're probably going to be standing back in these corners in this area. So you can go from that high ground and then jump around over here. Another thing you can do, it's not really advised, but it's kind of like an unexpected thing, is you could park a Bastion on those platforms that are rotating around, and then as he's about to turn the corner, that's when he calls a dive, and then once Bastion calls a dive, everybody dives in, and fire support from Bastion as you guys are fighting on point, and it's a good surprise strat if you guys feel like doing that. So that's... What were you gonna say?
I'm sorry, you're right about the surprise strat, because if we run it too much, I'm sure they'll just get smart about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a one-time thing. If it doesn't work out, then you should probably just do a swap. But if it does end up working out, and you end up getting the Bastion on point, that's when you just sit him down right here, and then you pocket him, basically, and kill anybody who comes near him. So that's Volskaya offense. The first point is much more complicated than the second.
Okay.
So,
question.
Yeah.
So, just to clarify, if we see both the support and the tank that's easily killable and like separated from each other, force what we go for first, right?
So like if the tanks are up here, but then the supports are all the way back here or something?
Well, just in a general rule, like split-second decision kind of thing.
If you end up seeing like a support that's super far away, like unless it's like a Moira who can fade back over the tanks, then yeah, that would be a split-second thing, but it has to be called out as soon as you see it. Like, the entire team is like over here or something, but then they have some Zen that's like over here in this corner, and he's kind of poking around and he's flanking around and stuff and shooting from over here. If you recognize that and you want to go and dive on top, it has to be called before you do it, because if you go by yourself or it's disjointed, then there's really no point in going for it, because there's going to be no follow-up.
Yeah, I ask sometimes because, you know, you see tanks that are just too aggressive and you want to take advantage of that, but also you want to stay focused and keep killing the supports when you see them.
Yeah, I mean, that is a time where the aggression, like super aggression from the tanks would be okay, but it has to be controlled. It has to be like planned, but not really planned, like a split-second decision, like you said.
Right, alright, I gotcha.
Okay, so any more questions about Volskaya attack? Okay. So defense. Kind of gonna just do Orisa, Roadhog, Diva, Moira, Lucio, Mercy, and then any DPS would work, but Junkrat is good. Oh, also on offense, Fair Mercy is good on both points, if you guys wanted to do that. But anyways, back to defense. So commonly, you're going to see teams hold right here. This is pretty much where every team is going to hold every time. And then if they end up just walking right past you on the point, you just kind of do what they did on the opposite side. And then you stand right here and you fight each other here. If another thing you could do is you could set up right here. This would be a good spot. Again, Orisa shield right here. This would be good if you wanted to run like a Torb or a Bastion or something. But you have to be sure that you don't get flanked, because if you get flanked, that can break down pretty quickly. Since we're running a Sombra, another thing we could do, which is you guys will sometimes see, especially on Volskaya, where she's really good, is you have an Orisa barrier right here, and you just fight in the health pack room. Now that could be good, especially if you're running a heavy pick defense, like with the Roadhog, because you can get a hook, bring them in here, focus him down, because he can't get this health pack because attacked, and then you can take advantage of the 5-on-6 and retake the point. You might sometimes sacrifice a bit of percentage just from poking through here, but as long as it's not too much, I guess it would be okay. If they end up pushing on the right side and they have a soldier on that high ground, then again, kind of like if they just walked past you, you kind of want to hold right here and fight on the ground where everybody else is, but maybe send your Diva or some sort of flanker up top onto the soldier, and at least try and pressure him down onto the point. But if he ends up running back into the hallway that's you're standing near, if he ends up running back and going for a health pack, so gratitude. If he ends up, if you end up coming up here and pressuring him and he runs back down here, don't even bother chasing him, because then it's just a 5v6 for you guys, and then you jump back down and it's a 5v6 while he's out of the fight trying to get healed. Alright. Any questions about first point, Anubis?
I have one here. So I like to actually kind of hold back here, because then you can see which way they're going. Right here.
Oh, right here? Yeah, this is okay, because you're still kind of behind the barrier, but you have to be careful, because if they just walk right around, then they can dive right on top of you, especially if you're running a Zen. Especially if you're doing Zenyatta, because if you're running an Orisa, it's not too bad of a walk, but it's a bit of a long walk back. If they just, so I guess the moral story is just be careful. Recognize that if they have a dive comp and they come out here and they see you over there, they might dive right on top of you. But also realize that if they walk around here, then your team is also going to be walking back. So just be careful, I guess.
Well, the idea is that we have the barrier maybe right here where
Oh.
creature had it, and
Oh,
then
you mean have a barrier here
right.
set up
So
here?
then you
That-
see
that would
which
be
way they're
okay.
coming from, and then if they go over the point, all we have to do is just turn a corner, literally, and we're here again.
Yes, that is another thing you could do. That would be fine. That was when I mentioned, like, if they hold, if, like, if you can hold here, holding that back there, kind of just the same thing. It gives you a little bit more of a sight line. It's not too bad, though. I guess if you want to hold up here, Junkrat is probably better, because you can spam and stuff. But, I think the strat you mentioned, I think I said it before, but yes, that's also a good question anyways.
Would it be a good idea for me to, like, we're getting pegged by a Junkrat or Widow or something in this little window up here? Would it be a good idea if I just, like, flew up there and bumped them and then came back down real quick?
Yes, that would be what you can do that, but only if they're giving you only if they're giving the team like so much difficulty that it's like needs to be addressed right away.
All right.
Okay, any more questions about first point defense? Okay. First point defense is pretty straightforward. If you want to take more of an aggressive spot, you can sit right here. But if you don't, you can stand right here. You probably want to have your barrier right here, so that it kind of covers this corner. Yeah, right here is good. Maybe just a little bit further forward, but yeah, right here is pretty good. And then if
What's
you're
your
support,
opinion on the surface area of the shields? So like, I see like maybe 1/3 of the shields being blocked by a wall. Is it better to have the shields more aimed there, where I'm shooting?
I guess having a bit more barrier coverage is okay,
I guess
but it
doesn't really
depends
matter.
on how the point is laid out, because like if the barrier is still here and some of the barrier was still being covered up by this pillar, it would be okay because the supports are standing right back here. Just because the barrier is a little bit, like up a little bit further to the left, like you can't really get shot from anywhere
Right.
over there. So it would this barrier spot, this is okay. This would be fine.
Okay. Cool.
But it depends on the map. So yeah. So on defense, you just put your shield down wherever over here. Supports stand back here. Supports have to watch out for flanks from over here because sometimes you'll see the tracer. She'll blink around and she'll go over here and try and jump on the Zen. If that happens, it has to be called out immediately, and then you fall back and you try and collapse on the flankers. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Kind of simple. So do we have any questions about the second point defense? Nothing?
I guess I could ask the same EMP question. Should I aggro EMP them right as they come through the choke, or do the same thing where it's just a little closer to the point, like right up here?
Like probably right at this box is good.
Yeah, okay.
Because most teams will hold right here, and then they can just jump forward. EMPing right here, I guess would be okay if they're if there's like 5 seconds left and they're trying to speed boost onto the point. Because then Lucio gets his speed boost turned off, and then, they might not make it on the point.
You actually just reminded me of another question that is totally not map specific at all, but I've been wondering about it. With Lucio's, like, I feel like I'm always screwing up if I pop an aggressive EMP and I'm not using it to counter sound barrier. Even though I probably get mine faster a lot of the time. Like, should I just like always hold EMP to counter sound barrier, or when is it okay to know that we'll win the fight, but they'll have a sound barrier next fight?
It would be. I would say like if it would be fine, because sound barrier isn't like transcendence where it can negate the entirety of the damage that you're putting out. The shields can be broken down pretty fast. You can use an EMP knowing that they have sound barrier. That's fine, but then you just have to be aware that they're going to push in with sound barrier on the next fight, and then prepare yourself for that. So, if you want, you can save the EMP for the sound barrier the next fight. That would be okay. It wouldn't be a bad thing to do, but you also have to call out that that's what you're doing. But if you don't really want to wait and you just want to get it out of the way, I guess, then you can use it knowing that they have sound barrier. It really doesn't make that big of a difference.
Okay.
Anything else about Volskaya before we move on?
How do you feel about using this spot I'm standing on here for like leverage in fights at certain moments when you feel like, you know, you can get away with it?
Yeah. This is okay. But most teams kind of just are gonna walk on point. So having the advantage up there, I guess, it doesn't really matter that much compared to like Anubis or something.
Right.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just worried about standing up there and, you know, letting them just like pick at me and charge their ults.
Yeah, no, I mean, most of the time you're just gonna want to hold right here, just because. I guess the only reason I can think of why you wouldn't want to stand up there is because they're really easily accessible flank routes for flankers. Like the Tracer, she can just jump right up onto the staircase from the right side, and then she can pick off your Zen who's right here. Or she can come around this side, and she has free reign over here. That's the only reason I could think of why you wouldn't want to hold up there, just because there's a lot of flank routes, but...
Right.
It's not that high ground, it doesn't make as much of a difference compared to others on different maps.
Alright, sounds good.
Yes. Any other questions about this map before we move on to Lijiang?
It's a really silly question, but how many maps are in the map pool?
8, and then Nepal is the tiebreaker.
So like, okay. So for example, you know, the capture point maps. Do those count? Like, you know how there's like 3 different Nepals. Do those count as 3 different maps, or is that just
no?
one
That
map?
counts as one map.
Okay.
They're those are phases of a map. Or
Gotcha. Okay.
Phases or stages. Either one is fine. Okay. Any more questions about Volskaya before we move on? Nothing? Okay, so next up is Lijiang. So honestly, I know so what maps did we play in the scrims? We did King's Row. I think we did Anubis. We did Lijiang. I was really impressed with your Lijiang. Honestly, I don't really have too many worries about the control point maps. A lot of them are the same, where it's just like one of the maps is like Farah Mercy is really good. One of the maps is like Orisa is really good. Another one of them is like Standard Dive is really good. You don't really have to have too much planning go into control point maps, I guess I could say. I can just give you guys on the fly advice about like what you might want to run on those maps when we get to that in the games. I guess the only like weird thing you could do is if we end up going to Nepal is on the village one where there's that upper high ground and the point is kind of like closed off and there are only 2 entrances from the side, is you actually can do something like a bastion, which is kind of unorthodox, but you can run a bastion on that point. And basically what you do is you go up onto that high ground with like a Rhine and a Diva and a Dog or something, or a Rhine and a Diva and a Zarya, and you go up to that high ground and you just have the Bastion post up, and then you pocket him, and then you melt him, and then you melt down the other team that are pushing through the other way. That's like the only weird thing I could think of on any of them. So, do we have any other questions about control point maps? Any other questions about control point maps?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, Dorado next. I went over Dorado earlier too, with a couple of you, with actually probably most of you, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were there for that.
I wasn't there.
Who said that? Was that,
Dark.
Right. No, I think actually you might have, I don't know. Okay, whoops. Not want to be doing hurt. Okay, here you go. So, this map is basically just super dive heavy. Dive is probably the best comp you're gonna want to run. Or you can add in, instead of like a Genji, like a Sombra, you can replace him with a Sombra, or a Soldier, or a Widowmaker, because the building roofs can be flown onto. But anyways, most teams are gonna be like setting up right there initially, or right up on that high ground. So if they are, you just dive right on up there, pressure them off. Now, the only reason I could think why you might not want to run dive is if they run something like a Junkrat, I guess, or like a Bastion, and they kind of just post up. But even like a Junkrat isn't that bad. So if they end up pulling out a Junkrat, and you guys are having difficulty pushing through the choke point, then I would recommend just coming right up here, and then you call out a dive up from over here. You call it a dive up from over here, and then you dive on that target and take them out quickly, and then you take the 5v6 fight. So that's something you don't see a lot of teams do, especially in ranks where there's no comms. But that's probably the easiest solution to if they're running a Junkrat, is you just go up here and then dive on somebody. So that's all of first point offense. Then first point defense. I mean, second point offense. So you're probably gonna see a lot of teams sit up here, maybe with an Orisa, maybe with a Reinhardt. They matter, but if they do, they're gonna have their shield right up here, and then you just dive right on. Sometimes, if they end up running dive tanks on second point, they're probably gonna have their entire team sitting over here. You know, in these little hallways, where like right over there, or right over here. And then once you guys jump on, they're gonna counter dive you right here and take the fight right here. Another thing you will see is have a Widowmaker sit like right here or something with a Mercy Pocket and pick people off. But you're probably just best off diving up here and then having like your Zen or your Lucio stay down there. Get a little bit of poke damage and then drop back down onto the point. That's what I would do. And then you keep on pushing up. And then you come over here. Now they're probably going to take this fight head on. Maybe their tanks are sitting in this corner right here. A lot of the times you're going to see supports back here. Now if their supports are sitting back here and their tanks are all the way up here, then you can just dive right over the tanks and dive right onto their supports right here. If you can get a Zenyatta pick, that'd be pretty big. But yeah. Sometimes you'll see teams hold up here with either of the high grounds. Actually, it's a lot less on. It's a lot more unorthodox. You don't see it. You hardly ever see it. But they'll just put a an Orisa barrier here and pocket a hit scan. But anyways, that's second point offense. Also, if you're coming down this point and you have a Widowmaker, she can sit in these 3 windows of this courtroom. That would be a really good spot for the Widowmaker's stand if you have one. So then, third point, again, a lot of the time you might see a team hold at this lit right here. If that happens, just dive right onto them and poke fight. If they hold right here at this ledge, again, just poke fight. Sometimes you'll see teams put a barrier right here and hold up here. Again, you just dive them. If somebody's up here, guess what you do? You dive them. It's kind of just a lot of dive here. If you're on this last phase and they haven't already started like the mass respawns, then you know you're probably gonna have a support or 2 back here. You dive on top of them and then hope to get a pick. That's pretty much third point offense.
Keep in mind that there's this window here that you can jump up from if you're diving.
Yeah, that's another thing. I forgot to mention, but that's a good point.
There's a health pack back there that I hack sometimes too.
Yeah, that spot is overall pretty good. Just because if you need it, there's a health pack right there. Or if you want, you can jump around here and get some good free damage off. So those are all the different offensive points. Do you guys have any questions about that? Anybody?
Nope.
Alright, let's go back and over to second point defense. I mean first point defense. Alright, so second point defense, first point defense. Sorry, I keep on getting confused. So, like a lot of teams you will see, they will start out right here, get some poke damage off, drop down here, and then push an Orisa right here, and you just stand back here and spam the point. You will also see a Widowmaker sometimes be standing up here and then spraying down, you know, boom, shooting you guys from up here. That is something you'll see often. But another thing that you will see sometimes is you will see teams do this strategy where they have their Diva and their Winston standing up here with their supports back over there and along with their DPS, and the Winston and the Diva are just coming down and dropping down and poking, and with the support with the sports supporting them from over there, and then they jump back up here, and then they just keep on going back up and down and getting poke damage off. That's another thing you will see that sometimes happens. But I guess if you guys want to do that, you can do that as well. But a lot of coordination goes into it. You all have to be on the same page, making sure that the tanks are staying alive. But yeah, that's pretty much first point. So then second point, hold up here if you have an Orisa up on this high ground ledge. Hold up here if you have an Orisa. You can also run dive and then sit in these hallways and then counter dive when they jump out. Like I mentioned earlier, a Widowmaker standing up there with the Widow pocket. Probably hold like somewhere around here, right on top of the point, so that you're not too far away from the supports, so they don't get dove on. You can hold up here and pocket a hit scan. Sometimes without a barrier, sometimes with. It doesn't really matter. So you lose second point, and then you go on to third. You can hold at the lips on the little curves. You can throw down an Orisa barrier, and you can stand right here. And yeah, that's pretty much it for third point. There's not, and defense in general, there isn't too much they need to do. It's all pretty straightforward.
Will anyone ever run a pirate ship?
Sometimes, yes, you will see that.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then Junkrat, Roadhog for shield breaking, a Tracer to harass. That's probably what you want to run. If they have I guess in pretty much in all cases where they're running a pirate ship, just swap off and go to heavy damage so that you can break the shield, because they're probably going to be running like Rhine or Orisa, sometimes both. And if that happens, just go heavy.
Like,
Also, EMP fucks that shit up.
Yeah.
True that.
Just go heavy shield break and burst down the shield and then get the damage off. Also, Tracer is really good, like I said, because because she can flank, right? She can flank and she can get poke damage off on the Bastion and distract them. So you guys have any questions about Dorado? Anybody?
None for me.
Alright. Next up. Route 66. Okay. Okay.
Route 66.
So.
Beacon in place. I'm out of here.
Okay, Route 66 offense is first. If you didn't realize already, it's really similar to Dorado. It's pretty much the same thing every time. So, you have an Orisa. Most of the time, you're going to be running something up here. For offense, dive is good. Sometimes triple DPS can work, but you have to make sure that you have a Winston. Okay.
I'm with you.
Okay. So if you're gonna be running on offense dive, then you just jump on here and you take the fight kind of a lot like kind of all out like Dorado. Another thing you can do is if you have a Sombra, take control of the gas station Mega Health Pack, and then if you end up getting in a bad spot, you can just reach back in here and get the Mega Health Pack. So yeah, pretty much just standard dive on Dorado. I mean, like on Dorado for Route 66 here. Another thing you can do is Pirate Ship. Pirate Ship is pretty good here as well. That would be okay. Okay, so then second point.
I am empowered.
So probably want to hack this left side Mega Health Pack first things first. So one thing you can do is you can go through these mine shafts right over here, and you can come up on top of the garage, and then take the fight on top of the garage. But a lot of times you're going to see teams hold with their barrier up there, or
Enemies on my radar.
at this little curve right here. In that case, just run dive again and dive right on top of them,
Clearing the
harass their supports. Especially, this is actually a good map for flankers because this area right here has a lot of open sight line, but it's also really vulnerable to flankers. So this would be a good time to do the Sombra call out where the Sombra's back here and she says, okay, I'm about to dive onto the supports. And then when she dives on top of them, you get the tank line back up and then you can get an easy pick. So yeah, just dive basically on this part. And then third point, this is when you might want to start running like an Orisa or a Reinhardt, because spam is really good in this really tight corridor. You're going to see a lot of Junkrat, and you want to probably have a little bit of a better shield. If you decide to still run dive, then one thing you can do is you can
Thanks for the assist.
you can jump up onto this little perch right here while like your support is still on the cart, and then you can come out here and dive onto the team from out here. You can do that, and it also kind of helps if you have the Zen on the cart if you do that, because then you can throw out a Harmony Orb onto somebody when you dive on. So I guess this is really the only part on. Oh, also hit scans are really good, because if you end up taking control of this stretch here and you get really close to capping, you can set up a soldier or a Widowmaker right here, and then you have views of both spawn exits, and you have pretty much free reign from all across the entire map from right up here. So this is really the only point where you change up from like a standard traditional dive, and you can go on to a spam comp with an Orisa and a Junkrat, or you can go to a traditional dive but with a hit scan. Either of those things would work. So those are the 3 attacking points on offense. Do you guys have any questions about offense?
Get back. No.
No.
Okay.
I'm out of
Then defense.
move back.
Okay. So, stall comp, having a Orisa shield right here, and then you spam right down. At the point where I would say you would want to jump down is once the enemy team gets around like right here, like directly in front of the sign. That's when I would say you want to jump down and then put your shield like right around here, and then start taking the fight around here. Otherwise, you take the fight up on top of big girls, And yeah, you just kind of spam. So, second point, your comp probably won't see a lot of changes. One swap you might see would be a Widowmaker, and then have her kind of sit like right here or something, and then spam down onto that choke point that you guys were all just running through. Common Orisa shield spots you're gonna see sometimes the teams set up here, right here sometimes. That would be a good spot. If you're holding right here, I'd say probably the best spots for supports would be right back here, because you can see where the enemy team is coming from. If you start holding back here, then if they push up, they can start holding back here. And then supports you want to stand maybe back here or something like that. Just because you can run back in here, and I think there's a health back kind of close nearby. Nope, never mind. I lied. But yeah, probably just want to stand back here if you're a support, like right around this area on defense. And then third point, common things you're gonna see. You're gonna see a hit scan, probably pocketed Widow or Soldier or McCree sitting right up here, as the offense is just pushing right through. Common shield spots, setting up right here would be like a really aggressive spot, but the usual spot would be like an Orisa barrier right there, and then the supports can stand like right back here, or right over here if they want. Right over here would be also good, because they have the health pack they can just jump right back on top of if they need it. Okay, so do we have any questions about defense at all? Nothing?
So that pocketed DPS is pretty much going to be on top of that truck.
Yeah, if they are gonna be running, if they end up running a hit scan, if they end up running a Widowmaker or a Soldier or a McCree that is being pocketed, then yeah, they're gonna be standing right up here. If they're doing that aggressive positioning though, then they're gonna be standing like maybe right over here, I would say. This is probably where an aggressively positioned Soldier would be.
I'm going to take this advice from both sides. I'm assuming if I'm on defense as well, I'd probably do the same.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Wait. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Albie, do you play Widow?
I haven't really played her in like comp. Sorry, like I'm not other than arcade.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can dabble. I mean, I'm unconfident with her because I'm usually focused.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it would ever be worth us trying to use it. I don't play her. I haven't played her enough to.
I can definitely
use
try
it.
for sure. But I'm probably just gonna end up using Soldier if that's the case because
Yeah.
Either of them put pressure on the team from a long distance, and
Yeah.
they pretty much do the same thing. So either of them is okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's I guess, in short, this map is basically just Dorado, but in the Wild West. I don't really know. It's pretty much the same tactics that they're going to be pulling out for both maps. So, yeah. Any other questions about this map?
not
Anything?
without context.
Okay.
Shall we jump in one?
Yeah. If you guys want, and if you guys are getting bored with the strat talk, we can save Eichenwald for tomorrow, because King's Row, I think we can go over hybrid tomorrow if you guys want to. if you guys are getting bored of talking, which I would understand. Would you guys want to do quick play or comp together?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go to the bathroom.
Okay. I think I'm gonna head out. It's getting a bit late. I have stuff I have to do tomorrow.
How about so Dr. Upland, you're recording, right? So maybe if we play a few comp or quick play, we can record that and Roper can review it if he wants.
Yes. If we get lucky enough to get one of the maps that's in the map pool, then try and take into consideration like what I said, and then just kind of go over that. That would probably be really good practice.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna head out, guys, but it was fun.
Thank you very much, Roper.
A bit boring, I know, but
Eh.
it's pretty important stuff.
People learn differently, different
Yeah.
ways. There's no
Yeah.
right way.
Yeah, so, if you guys want, you can go into the comp or the quick play. I'll review it if I can get a recording. But, yeah, so try and get some rest for tomorrow's, 11 Eastern game tomorrow or something like that, right?
It's gonna be like in almost 24 hours.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay.
Right, see you guys.
Later.
Bye. I'm gonna actually start my like Twitch or something so I can record as well. Shall we? I'm gonna go into lobby. One second. Let me start up